All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 5 of the Bullets, Barbells, and Barbecue podcast. Today we're talking barbecue, the best we've had, the best we've made, and anything else that spirals from that. We're going to start with Matt because he just put together a brisket that he thinks is the best. We'll talk about it. And then we'll talk about a different brisket that I made, and we're talking about if Mike has ever cleaned his smoker again since last summer because it's a fucking filth biscuit.
Yeah.
So what's up with this brisket you made?
So the brisket I did on the old Timberline XL, some fancy pinky up.
Is that the one I bought?
Yeah, the one that you were supposed to get for us, never did. So I
Got
just got it myself.
Hey, cheap fuck.
Yeah, you fuckhead. Anyway, I'm gonna talk to Brett about this.
Because Mike's made like 2 briskets in his fucking life.
I have.
If I did them in the
Pulled
oven
pork,
too,
though. Yeah.
doing the sous vide with the liquid smoke.
Yeah, he
Look
bought-
this shit out.
He bought a smoker to make fucking hot dogs and hamburgers.
No, knowing me, I just bought it.
Put it in the smoker. Ta-da!
I bought you a brisket. Can you make me one?
Yeah. So you do the all day brisket, right?
Yeah, so this one I did. The cook time is 180 overnight. So remember I was texting you yesterday about like just wouldn't fucking finish. And I
Yeah.
couldn't get over there. I didn't put the heat plate back in when I put it back together.
I know that.
So it's got like the diffuser plate at the bottom.
So shouldn't it have been like 700 degrees then?
Well, no, I still only set it to whatever the temperature
Yeah, but
was.
one time I didn't put the if anybody out there has a Traeger and you turn it on without the heat plates in, that's just a straight open flame. Mine went to like 700.
It was an open flame. I was wondering. I was like, why do I see the flame back there? It's fine.
Wait, a question on that. Can you do that? Raise the heat and just grill super hot real quick?
Completely sidetracked. You can take a Traeger if you have a Traeger and you want to sear a steak. You can pull the heat plates out, which it's going to be hot already. You can pull the diffuser plates out and put that steak right over the fucking fire pot, and that thing will be like 700 degrees.
That's fucking
And you can sear a
awesome.
steak, but you have to take it apart while it's hot.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So I followed the normal thing, which I've done for the last briskets that I've done. I think I really, really like is an overnight smoke, 12 hours at roughly 180-ish, right? I set a timer for 10 hours, and I'll take a peek at the temperature. I don't have the smoker yet, but I'll set a probe in there, let it smoke overnight, look at the temperature about 10, and I set the alarm for 160, even though I won't pull it until closer to 170 to wrap. But that way I can go out there and I can check it. I can use a thermo. I don't have a thermopen. I have the Amazon knockoff variant. But I can actually probe
poor
it.
people.
Yeah, for poor people, right? People who hate MacBooks. And I can probe it a little bit, and I can find the temperature. I can kind of get a feel for it, what it is. Generally, what I've done for the last 2 or 3 has been I get to that 12-hour mark, and I hit probably mid-150s, and it just won't really go up more from there. So I've turned it up to 275, which then another 2 hours, and then it hits that 170
From 180 to 275?
From 180 to 275, and that kind of like
And then do you
pushes
go
it
back
over there.
down after that?
So
Okay.
After that, you're just cooking.
So I'll take it out at the 275. Once it gets to that 170-ish range, and I've gotten a little bit better. Like Pittman and others will talk about like, I want to know what the feel is, and I want to. So I've started like poking it and touching a little bit more to like figure out what that is. So I'm still not great at it. I generally go on temperature, but at least I have a little better idea. Pull it off, wrap it. I tried the tallow
Paper or foil?
paper.
Okay.
I just went straight past foil and went right to the paper.
Why?
Somewhat curious.
What's the big difference? Because
So,
I've
like,
only ever done foil because
the foil will take away like some of the crispy. It'll take away some of your bark
basically
on there.
steams it, and
Yeah.
it cooks it faster.
Yeah, it's safer, right? Because you have more room for error because you're keeping all the moisture, all the fat, everything is in there with it. The paper helps keep some of that in there, but it'll still radiate out some of the water.
I mean,
can
even
evaporate.
the
fat
I was
can
gonna say
run
it'll
out.
drain out, right?
Yeah.
Like okay.
A little bit, but cheat code for you: if you are making a brisket and you have company coming and you need it to be faster, use foil
Yeah.
because it'll cook way faster. And
Yep.
most of your company will never know if you have
After
if you have a good
like
bark or not.
160
Right.
foil, I mean, it shit cooks in a couple hours.
And once you're past that 160, meat won't take smoke after like 150 to 160 anyway.
Yeah,
so
I've
you're
heard
just
that, yeah.
you're just strictly cooking.
Yeah.
Now I wouldn't turn it up to like 400. I wouldn't do that.
And
But
And that's why I like the overnight. So I do overnight with either super smoke or when I had the old smoker, the Pro 34.
All Traegers.
Yes, all Traegers because I'm bougie, except for my computers apparently.
Still don't get it.
So I'll do the brisket in there. But so if you don't have something that has a super smoke or an extra smoke function, the smoke tubes, the smoke triangles, there's a bunch of different things you can do in that. You can
Amazing Tube is the brand. Amazing Tube if you're looking for
There we
one.
go. He'll put an Amazon link on the website. You can put a tube up.
We don't have a website.
He'll put it up in
That
the
sounded
box.
really professional, though.
Coach X post that for us.
Yeah.
So he'll have use like a tube or the box. Now I haven't. I tried. Someone let me borrow the triangle. Like essentially, it's like a smoke tube, but it's like a triangle shape. I put pellets in it. You are supposed to be able to put wood chips in it, which gives you
This is like the cold smoke thing, right?
You can use it for cold smoking.
Okay.
I always used it. I've done cheese a couple times. I really want to get into do more cheese.
Dude, I
this
did.
summer.
I started doing that, and I'll talk about that later. But those things are awesome.
So I've used it just to try to get more smoke into the meat early, right? Because you can put that in there. Like the tube will go
that's
for.
brilliant.
I think the tube will.
So
burn
even if
for
the
like 2
temperature is
hours
like
or so.
180, like whatever it was, 180.
So I'll set it at 180. Like the Pro
But then you
34
also
would
have the
only
cold
go to,
smoke rolling inside of it.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And so you get that smoke to roll in there, and really just like fills the chamber with actual smoke, a little thicker smoke. And I would do
Nice.
I would do something like mesquite or like oak. in
That's
there
different than
You're
whatever's
right.
in
So
the box.
most people, I would say most people use some kind of my limited experience from like what other people do, like finding oak pellets hasn't been all that convenient except for maybe like the last year, where you can find actual oak pellets. Like a real Texas brisket is going to be post oak, which I found is not a type of oak tree. It's the size of the branch that they cut. So like it would be the size of diameter that you'd use for a fence post. So I don't know,
Probably 4 or 5 inch.
Yeah, 4 or 5 inch diameter. But that branch has like the optimal amount of old wood, new wood, bark, whatever that thin
But
layer is.
you're not
between the
doing
bark.
that in a Traeger. You're doing that.
You can get
You
post
can
oak pellets,
So you can
Oh,
get
you
post oak
can?
pellets, and you
Okay.
can get
and oak burns hotter.
yes. So we can so you can do that. But I would use like when I do the smoke tube in the Pro 34, I will use, and I want extra smoke, I'll use something with a really really heavy smoke flavor, like mesquite. Has a really smoky flavor. So if you don't like a lot of smoke, don't use
Yeah,
mesquite.
mesquite is the most aggressive you can have.
But because the smoke tube's only going to burn for a couple hours, I'll put that in right away and let it go. So for the first 2 to 3 hours, it's getting whatever pellet I'm using plus whatever that smoke tube has.
Now, do you light the Amazing Tube or whatever you're using for the extra? Do you light that and let that run for a little while first?
I didn't. I started it, but now I would take the brisket out cold, take it cold, put it in the smoker, turn the smoker on, light the tube.
Oh really?
So I would turn it on at 0 degrees.
So, but you're letting it run for as long as you're letting the smoker run before you put it on.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's a key. Anytime for anybody out there who is new to smoking, even on the Traeger instructions, it'll tell you to let your smoker run for 10 to 15 minutes before you put anything in it.
Yeah.
If you run an offset or a green egg, that thick white cloud of smoke is not good smoke. That is bad smoke.
Yeah.
That is burning all the shit off the outside
But
of
you're
it.
saying that you did that.
He lit his first to let it run.
No,
Because
no,
otherwise,
I put it on there cold. I put it like
yeah, but you let the Amazing Tube run before you put the brisket on, right?
no. I would get the Amazing Tube started,
Yes.
and then I would put the brisket on there, turn the pellet grill on,
See, that's backwards then.
and let it go. So like I was getting that.
So you're putting
bad
you're putting the
smoke
brisket on at 0.
at 0. At 0 temp.
Oh yeah,
That's why you have cancer.
So now you're supposed.
that's just like smoking Nicorette.
Right, but in an offset,
Fucking Nicorette.
like an offset's going to give you a lot more intense smoke. Can you smoke Nicorette?
I'll figure it out.
Fucking challenge
I'll
accepted.
figure
bro.
it out.
Yeah.
We got all weekend.
I got a couple glass pipes.
The offset they talk about, because like your fire, like when you start a real, like anyone who's lit a fucking
Wood's dirty.
fireplace or camp, like as soon as you start burning that shit, like the first few minutes of your campfire, of your fire in the fireplace is like super shitty, and that's how people fill their house with smoke, and it's just like
You're just
stinks,
burning
right?
dirty wood. You got to burn that dirty shit off
Right,
of it.
so you have to get
You
to
want like a
certain
blue
temperature.
smoke.
Yeah. Now I don't know. You get some dirty smoke out of a pellet, but again, your pellet, like all the pellets are pretty consistent, right? So it takes a little while for your fire pot to hit that optimal burning temperature to get the cleaner smoke. But like you put it in the Traeger, that Pro 34, we'll call 0 degrees whatever ambient temperature is. So 0 degrees to 180 in maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, unless it's
10
super
to
cold
15
outside.
minutes, right. If it's really cold, then it's going to take a little bit longer. But because, again, I wanted to get the most smoke flavor I could into it, I went that route. I don't know if it was any dirtier or not. I don't know if it made it more like, not rancid, but like acidic or bitter from the bad smoke. I don't know.
It'll burn a thick white. Like when you first light your Traegers, it'll burn a thick
Yeah.
white smoke
Yeah.
before it really gets rolling.
Yeah.
That's,
And
a
that's
pretty,
just that
that's a
in-
pretty exciting smoke, though. You see that, you're like, yeah.
It
We're
is.
about to
I think part of
party.
that's the initial getting the fire going. It's burning some of the old
it's not
ash
hot
up.
enough to really burn like clean.
Yeah.
They call it like a clean fire is when you get like that little blue smoke and like you can see the heat waves coming off, but you just see a little bit of smoke.
And I think you can put like you said an offset new wood in because it's so hot. It's just fucking torching that shit so fast it doesn't matter anymore.
Yep. Now with the Timberline, that I will get up to temperature first.
Yeah. Because it's just better to have it rolling.
Right. So that gets the temperature.
So this brisket, though, you were at 180.
So the cook
Temperature.
is 180 temp for 10 to 12 hours.
And it's called an all-day brisket or
Holy
workday
shit.
brisket.
Workday
so
brisket, right.
you can be at work all day and not have to be home to monitor it.
Right. So like I put it on that one. That one kind of threw me off because I didn't put it on until about 9:30. Usually I put them on about 7 at night, and then I start checking them right when I wake up. But this time it was like I woke up and I was up for several hours and I started doing shit, and I was like, by this time I should be doing other stuff with the brisket, but I had to let it go. So anyways, you're looking at a 10 to 12 hour cook for.
You're working from home, though, too, right?
Yeah, I work from
So
home.
that's pretty nice.
Yeah, so I'm like
Yeah.
partially work.
But this works great for people who don't work from home.
Right, but
Yeah.
even if you don't work from home, like if
Just
you
make sure your
have-
pellets are full.
your pellets are full and you have some kind of like Wi-Fi controllable thing, because that's the
Yeah.
other issue you run into. So you cook it 10 to 12 hours at 180. Again, I have found that generally after that, around that 12-hour mark, I turn it up to 275 to kind of get through that stall to make sure I can get to.
Are
like
you looking
the
at
170.
hours or temperature on the meat?
On the meat right now? I'm looking at temperature.
Okay.
I know because I've done probably 5 or 6 overnighters that I could run it at 12 hours for 180, and I'm not getting above 160 meat temperature.
Yeah.
Now that depends. Like, what do
Just
you do?
because that temperature is so low, right? If
right,
you're
it's
above
so
that, it'll
low,
cook
right?
it.
So
yeah.
you think about like your temperature curve is going to be some kind of inverse, not like an exponential curve. You're talking about like the other curve. Like at the beginning, your temperature is going to rise and rise and rise, but then as time goes on, kind of left to right, because no one can see me doing my stuff with my hands. Right, as you go left to right, your
It's
your
pretty
time's
good, by
going to
the
go
way.
on, but your temperature is not going to increase. That temperature increase line is going to flatten out as time goes on because you're getting closer and closer to your cook temp
Okay,
and
yeah.
stuff. So like you can't, like you would have to leave it on there for hours and hours, like days, to get set it at 180 and actually
And then
get
the
your
meat
meat
would
to
go
180.
bad by that point, right?
It'd probably be terrible.
Yeah.
So do that, but then I'm looking at the 170. Like I said, I set my probe temp for 160. Then around there, I start checking on it every half hour, 45 minutes. I'll check the temperature probe to make sure it's gone up, and then I'll go out and look at it, poke the meat a little bit. Again, I'm not like you'd listen to Pittman or Cosmos or Chubbs. Like they'll talk about like, oh, you should feel like you can poke it, and you can feel, you can see what you're looking for. I'm not that good, and plus the people I'm cooking for don't care that much. So
I use a probe. If you can get probe tender, you're doing good. Just use a
Yeah.
probe. And
Yeah, like you
it's
just
just like
push it
making
through.
a cake.
Yeah.
If you can stick a toothpick in and pull it out,
Pull
there's
it
nothing
clean.
stuck to
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
you're good.
It just goes through
Yep.
like butter.
So
Yeah.
that's why I start like poking it with the probe. I want to know what the temperature is for like my own like kind of logging everything. But otherwise, I'm just gonna go through and like poke it.
That was a beer.
Right.
Thank you.
So at 170, I'm gonna take it off. I wrap it in paper. I've put tallow on it before
What's
a couple
that?
times. Rendered beef fat. So
I like duck fat on red meats. It's great.
I haven't tried that. I'd taken so
I'm
when
going
I
to send you a link to that to try, and then
it
we
like
put that link on the
ghee?
website also. But
The
it's
non-existent website, it'll be there.
yeah.
but they have it like
we'll
in
put
a mason
card up in
jar,
the top right corner.
like in a mason jar from Walmart. So the craziest thing is every time I make a steak and I put that on there, I get so fucking hot, like my body temperature, like my metabolism. I just get hot I sweat.
You probably have something wrong with you.
No,
when
no,
that
no.
happens.
About an hour. But that's what duck fat does. Is it raises your metabolism if you add it to if you eat it with red meats?
Did you make that up to make yourself feel better?
No, I
Do
actually
we have
didn't.
bullshit flags? Do I have a flag? I can
No,
throw here?
try it. So I've done it without, and I've done it with.
Are you sure it wasn't just meat sweats?
Oh,
Because you're kind of new to being fat.
maybe I don't know.
So yeah, you're just kind of new to it though.
I was just saying, like, I almost always sweat when I eat.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, it's
if I'm
different.
eating
It is
lot
a
of
different
like
temperature.
Brisket, I'm sweating.
It's a different. No, it's a. Well, I mean, I know. I do know the difference. But I'm serious. Try it. Just on simple shit like grill a steak next time. Put duck fat like a spoonful of duck. I'm not even measure that
Because
shit.
a lot of it's spray that I've seen is spray duck.
No, fuck that. Put the from the like scoop it out. It's not. It looks like
Crisco.
Coke. Yeah, and it has to like render down, right? But like it does. I promise you. Like an hour later, you're like, I gotta take my fucking shirt off.
It's probably your fucking blood pressure getting too high. 'Cause of all the
I
fat.
take meds for that stuff.
I set a triglyceride PR, and you got to try to beat it.
I think I'm on my way.
All right, I'm gonna try that. But take this. So the beef tallow is like when you trim the brisket, right? You cut up just shit tons of fat. All the hard fat is
Yeah,
really
okay.
fat you don't want on there.
Yeah.
So I'll take that,
I got
put that
short
in a
shorts on.
pan
There you do.
off by
good,
itself,
right?
and you let that cook overnight. So for 12 hours, I have this pan of fat chunks that are just rendering down. So all the fat, like the actual juice inside the cells, is leaking out and filling this pan. So I'm just getting like all this unadulterated beef fat
Nice.
that puts in there. Plus, it's infused with smoke. So I pour that through a strainer into jars, and I keep that and I cook with that. So
What are you using for a strainer? Cheesecloth?
I've done paper towels lately because I'm lazy. I just have like a real fine mesh
Are you lazy
strainer.
or are you poor?
Both. I use like a real fine mesh strainer and just dump it through there because if some chunks get in there, I'm like, that doesn't bother me. I'm just the one using it. But when you use that on like a cast iron to cook steak with, I think I talked about it in one of the other episodes about doing steak. Like, throw that stuff down, and immediately you get this
Episode 2
aroma
Q&A.
of like smoke flavor that comes with it. And beef tallow has a different flavor. It definitely has a different texture when you eat it. If you have a lot on there,
It's kind of slimy.
yeah, it adds. It's easy to overdo the beef tallow, so I don't use nearly as much of that as I would like a butter in a cast iron to do that. But I'll bring some in because I got a shitload of it. But so
You can also buy it if you're not doing what
you-
Matt does.
yes,
Fatworks makes it
Yep.
on Amazon, and there's another company in a black label, like Chicago.
I don't know what that they get that on
Wagyu.
Amazon.
Wait,
I
but
thought,
what you're saying though is you're cutting this off of meats that you buy.
Yeah, but I'm just saying for people
Yeah,
who maybe
so I
don't
mean, if you-
know what
okay,
it,
yeah,
if
like
they
you
just
can
want to
still-
try it, you can
just
buy
wanna-
it.
yeah, you
you
can
might be
buy
able to buy
it
it at your
yourself.
local grocery store
yeah,
or like Amazon. I think Fatworks is a
Yeah.
company
Where
that
would
makes it.
like would it be in a like a
Comes in a
jar?
in a jar.
a jar.
Okay.
Or
You
like
just,
a,
like, scoop it
like
out.
A Crisco looking can.
Also,
Oh,
if you
okay,
do
yeah.
like Snake River Farms has one called Chef's Gold, and it's tallow mixed with some other stuff though.
Yeah. So you can you just use it anytime you would use a fat substance to cook with, like vegetables, meat, whatever. I use the tallow. I've tried it on chicken and some other stuff, and it's not quite as good.
I've done it on a griddle, outdoor griddle, and made like hamburger with it or stew
Oh,
meat.
nice.
Put a bunch of it on there, like he said, instead of the oil or butter, and it
Hash
it kind of
browns,
tenderizes the meat
vegetables.
also.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Like I'll do a bunch of like cut up green peppers, onions, mushrooms, beef tallow in there instead of like an oil.
You kind of
or-
finishing with it, or are you cooking it in
I'm
it?
cooking in it. So
Okay,
like
yeah.
where I would normally put
But not the brisket. You're talking
not
other
the
stuff.
brisket, yeah. So the
We have a caller.
Yes.
We have a caller coming in.
caller number 1, you're live.
Okay, I guess I hung up.
All right. So yeah, so there are some people out there who they'll make their brisket, and before they wrap it, they will put beef tallow on the brisket itself, or they'll put beef tallow
Oh,
on
to
the
let it
paper.
like, soak in it
Right.
as it's yeah.
But that's dangerous.
It's easy.
Why?
It's easy to overdo.
Oh, because the flavor.
Now I would
too
say
much?
if I had like a choice, or
What if you're like
less
really
quality,
fat? Would you like it better?
No,
No.
It makes it like a tinny, like
it has a
fatty, like slimy.
yeah, like
And the
tallow
wor-
tastes different.
And the worst thing is you've taken all this time to smoke a brisket for
I'll fuck it up in 5
12
minutes.
hours,
Yeah.
8
You don't
hours,
want to overdo it,
and then
with
you
some
throw all
shit.
that on there.
Yeah.
Like you can always put more on later.
Yeah. Now I will say that I've done like this last one I did. I had like this last one was a 18-ish pound brisket, and I aggressively trim brisket. I cut a lot off because I want the fat because I really like to cook with the tallow. I keep all the meat and I grind it to do like burgers with or add it to chili, that kind of stuff. So I'm not afraid to like cut a lot off. So I had this 18-pound brisket that probably ended up
Fuck, I never even thought
closer
about
to like
that.
a 14-pound brisket.
Yeah, he's
when it was
basically like
all
a
said and
native.
done.
He just doesn't
Well, no,
waste any part of the animal.
I'm serious. Like
Yeah.
I have, get a bunch of ground beef from Costco, and we make burgers a couple times
Yeah.
a week, right? And
and if you have
having all
if you
that
have a
shit,
KitchenAid mixer or a
yeah,
stand mixer,
absolutely,
Yep.
yeah.
dude, you can buy the meat grinder for like $100 on Amazon.
Yep.
Oh
and
man, that's
I've used it
brilliant.
also, and it's it works
Yeah.
great. If you're ever gonna grind meat, keep all the supplies in the freezer, the tray, the blades, all that, and keep your meat almost frozen because the colder it is, the better it grinds and doesn't gum up your machine.
Oh, nice.
I took a sausage making class. I paid to learn that.
I was supposed
now
to
you
go
all
to
get it
one,
for
and then
free.
COVID hit. Remember that?
Yeah, you're a quitter.
Not sausage stuffing, sausage making.
Not getting stuffed by a sausage.
Wait a second. Is this what?
This wasn't that basement class you were talking about.
Okay, it's 2023.
Yeah,
I'll let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this last one I did. So I cut a shitload of fat off that. So I had two, whatever they half steam pans full of fat that are on like the very bottom, on the left and the right. The brisket is center on the second to top rack because I was trying to get it as high as I could.
More smoke.
And then underneath it, I had a deep dish kind of cake pan to catch all the grease that came off of the brisket. So when I went to wrap the brisket, I did take that grease that was in that pan and I dumped it back onto the paper and onto the brisket before I wrapped it up. So I was using...
Were you doing this weekend? Is this like
I did it yesterday. So for the fire station, like we'll have certain trainings that we'll bring people in, and like our payment to them is usually we feed them.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, the fire station's going to buy the food, so I could have just practice all this shit.
Are most
On people.
firefighters fat?
Volunteer firefighters.
Yeah, we're let's qualify.
Do you guys have like a sick gym in your volunteer firehouse?
No.
You have, like, a
They have
Bowflex
you know
or
what they do
something?
have? They have a sick fridge full of beer, probably.
I bet they do. That's what I was wondering. If
anymore,
you like
no.
sit there, your
Officially, no, we
wife's
don't have
working.
alcohol on the premises.
Yeah, your wife's working. You're just like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to the firehouse because it's also a bar. And just
It
kind of
used to
hang
be-
out.
Back in the day, you talking to the old guys, like back like
We just
before
drink and
kinda
smoke
like
meats.
80s and stuff. Like they had a keg on tap, and they would just be down there hanging out drinking. And they get a call, and they just out the door and go do shit. Come
Just
back,
pee it out.
drink some more. Yeah,
Just pee the fire
They do
out.
this stuff, but they apparently determined that like being legally intoxicated negatively impacts your EMS.
No,
and
it do-
firefighting
it does not,
capabilities.
though.
I wouldn't know. So would have done that.
So there he is wrapping a brisket.
Yeah. So, anyways, we're wrapping a brisket, right? So, again, pulled the brisket at 170 at roughly somewhere between the 13 to 14 hour mark.
Dude, that is a long.
Pull the brisket. I had the pan with the grease that dripped off that brisket cook, not any extra. Like I didn't take scoops of beef tallow from one of my other batches or anything. So it came off that, poured it on the paper, wrapped it up, probed it, stuck it back on there, turned the temperature up, left the temperature at 275, and put it back on there until I hit 195 or so. And then I did not unwrap it. Like I just would go out and check on it every 20 minutes or so and like poke it with a probe through the paper to see. I know there's some other people you talk about that like actually unwrap it, look at the brisket to see. I don't want to make that fucking mess because all that juice goes everywhere and I'm not good
Save
enough to
that
like
juice
yeah.
for later.
So I just leave that all in there, right? And again, the audience I'm cooking for, they are not very sophisticated, so they'll be fine with it. So then I pulled that one. This one I pulled just because of timing. Again, the
At
cook-
195.
I pulled it at 195, but then rather than, because normally I'll pull it, put it on the counter for like half an hour, and then put it in the cooler and close the lid. This one I took right off the smoker, put it in a cooler, close the lid because it was
So it's
lower.
not 205.
203 is like the official.
I usually
you're
go
looking for.
203 to 205.
If you'll look like.
So what's the
203
difference between texture between 195 and 205?
Depends on the brisket. It's going to depend on
yeah.
the breakdown of the intermuscular fats more.
So if you're looking at a brisket that's fattier, you think 205 is safer?
I kind of run 205 and I poke it to get tenderness out of it.
So do you unwrap it, look at it, touch it, and all that shit?
Now you can just stick a probe through, and if it slides through like butter,
yeah.
you're fine.
I
And
just.
then you
So
wanna
you could
rest-
feel that at 185 also, right?
You
That-
could feel like
okay.
if you like.
It's still going to keep cooking. Like he said, he put it in the cooler. It'll keep
It's like
cooking.
5
'cause
degrees, isn't it?
And
heat
so that's what,
expenditure.
like, but also like I also did something that other people talked about where I filled the cooler with super hot water.
Yeah, people don't
not
know
quite
that. Like with a
cold in
Yeti
water?
cooler, trick to Yeti coolers, they'll hold temperatures forever, but you have to preload them.
Yeah.
Run super hot water in them to keep them hot longer, or run ice
Yeah.
water in them to keep them cold longer.
What, so like coat it to get the temperature and dump the water out.
Yeah,
and put the,
so I filled it up with
Yeah.
like the hottest tap water we have at the house. Filled that up, but I also we have like a 5-quart saucepan. I filled that up with water and boiled it and dumped it in there. Now this is the first time I've done that because I knew I was gonna have to pull the brisket off sooner, and so I wanted to.
So normally you're cooking to 202 or 203.
Yeah, I'd cook it to like I'd probably pull it off at 200, just because I know at 200. You know, it's 203, 205, 198 somewhere.
You're better than me. I feel them all because I feel like tenderness changes between them.
They probably do. Again, my audience
they probably
is not
do,
very
yeah.
smart,
Just
so
depending
I
on
just
the fat, like you
pull it
said,
off
and all
pick
that,
it
yeah.
off. But I also again, I cook it, I trim it excessively, so it's pretty uniform. It's certainly not like competition cut, but like the flat is pretty
Like me
uniform
getting ready for a
around there.
bodybuilding show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's no like thin spots on there. Like I'll take stuff off the point and I'll round it out a lot so that it's as uniform as I can get it.
For airflow.
And then I'll put it in there. And this one I rested for 5 hours.
Whoa, are you serious?
Yeah. Others I'll rest longer.
If you keep it in a cooler, you can rest for a long time.
Yeah. Otherwise, like I'll pull them off. I'll be done at like 10 or 11 in the morning.
Dude, I can't go more than an
And
hour and a half until I have to eat
and I'll
it.
put it in the cooler.
It probably tastes worse.
Yeah. Like I don't know about the longer the rest, but you need at least 4 hours, I think, to get.
That's a long fucking time.
I mean, it's so much fat in there, and it's going to continue to cook for a while, right? So if you put it in the cooler right away, and your done was let's just say 200, right? It's going to slowly drop down, let's say 1 degree every 20 minutes. Right? I don't know. I just made that up. I don't know if that's true or not. But you're gonna keep at that cooking temperature for a long time as it slowly goes down. So all that meat is going to continue to render and continue.
Dude, how do you have? I mean, do you take that much time on yours?
So I do mine. I'll pull it and I put it in a cooler, and I keep the lid cracked to let the steam out. Let it sit there for an hour, and then I open the cooler and let it sit for like an hour, and then I'll put it on the counter. I leave the probe in the whole time, and I don't slice it till it's back down to like 150 to 160, because that meat will start to tighten up as it cools, and it's starting to pull all that moisture back in that's in the paper, and then I'll unroll it. Then I'll start.
I mean,
slicing
they're not. It's not like they're not edible after an hour. I mean,
No, and if you need to turbo it, you can just set it on the counter right away and unwrap it. It'll fucking cool down, and that meat will start pulling flavor in. But you want to try to. I mean,
if you're doing like
if you can do an hour rest,
Yeah.
it's going to make the meat taste better.
Right.
So usually I do like an hour because I'll cook for dinner.
You can
that
put it on
night.
your counter on like
Well,
a pan and put like a towel over it. And
Think
it'll
about it
hold
like
for
a steak,
an hour.
right? You have, say you have a 16-ounce porterhouse, right? You're going to cook that thing. Optimally, you're going to let that thing sit for 5 minutes after you're done cooking.
Yeah.
Right? So
That's
that's
only
a
16
that's a
ounces.
16-ounce chunk of meat. That's an inch and
Oh,
a half
I see what
thick,
you're
right?
saying. Yeah.
So now you're talking about,
Yeah.
in this case that I had, like you're talking about a 14-pound piece of meat that is, 4 inches, 5 inches thick in some of the bigger parts.
What do you
So
do in between? They go to McDonald's.
Have a turkey sandwich?
Gross.
I think, and the reason why I probably do more briskets is I think brisket, our last podcast we talked about the king lift. Brisket is the king meat.
Yeah.
Because if you can do a brisket, you can do anything. Pork butts are for invalids.
I love making those.
Yeah, because you can't mess them up.
Yeah,
No,
they're for
I
like
know.
church lunch.
Yeah, but I mean, the other thing is though, they're pretty versatile. Where you want to put it on?
They are. But if I
bread,
eat too much of a
taco.
pork like that, I'm going to shit through a screen door.
Yeah. The great thing about the fire station also, like these guys all want the flat.
Yeah,
So I'm
they don't
sitting
want the
there-
fatty part.
I'm like serving it, cutting up, and I'm like, all right, do you want the flat, the point? And they're like, well, what's that? And I was like, all right, back of the line. And then they come back through, I'm like, do you want
Here's
like,
what's left.
do you want the real fatty piece, or do you want the super duper fatty piece?
And so people out there who don't know on brisket, the flat is the leaner part. Point is the fattier part, which is usually used for burn ends. Especially if you're a big Kansas City person, burn ends, which
Right.
one of the best barbecue places in Kansas City, Jack Stack Barbecue
And Q39.
and Q39. Jack Stack, I've had amazing burn ends.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge burn end person because I can make pork belly burn ends instead.
Oh my god.
But I think if you can
Those
do
make me shit.
yes.
They did last time. They were
anything, if I eat
just
too much
straight
pork of
butt.
they
anything,
were immediate.
yeah, if I eat too much pork anything, just shitting.
Like as soon as I
constantly.
put the toothpick in the pork butt, I shit my pants.
Yeah. I also cheat
soon
on my
as I did it.
brisket. Like so before I smoke it, I look to see where like the optimal spot to cut is, and I take a little triangle niche out of the side.
Oh, so on your
So
point
like
and flat split?
Yeah, so my point and flat. So I know like, all right, this is my cross line. This is where I cut.
Because
I
the
know-
grains are different. So when you
Yeah.
cut your flat, you have to turn the point and cut the point with
Yeah.
against the grain also there.
Yeah. So if like you're looking at your brisket, left to right with the point on the right and the flat on the left. You're going to cut that thing right along that line. Your flat that's on the left, you can keep cutting on that same original cut line. On your point, you're going to want to turn it 90 degrees and cut that in half and then cut.
I think you can kind of figure that out as you're cutting, even if you fuck it up for a little bit, because it's not slicing very cleanly.
No, in a good brisket, when you have a good brisket, you should be able to lay a piece of brisket over your finger and it should fold.
Yeah.
And you should be able to tear it with one hand.
But see, like if you make a little notch in it though, you can cheat, and then people are like, "Oh man, this motherfucker knows exactly where to cut it." And I'm like,
You know,
"You're right,
I've probably made 4 briskets ever. I do use it a lot for birds and burgers and pork butts.
So I made a brisket like a pork butt, which you could probably do because you're kind of stupid. So you could do.
Yeah.
I made it just like that. I trimmed it, hot sauced it for a binder, and used a Holy Voodoo from Meat Church with their seasoning.
One of the best out there.
Smoked it until it was 165, 170. Then I put it in a pan, put more hot sauce on it, put like a stick and a half of butter.
You brought in here the other day? Yeah.
Put like a stick and a half of butter on it, covered it with foil, and put it back on there. And so I usually cook on a normal brisket. I cook it the opposite of Matt. I do 250 up until I wrap it at like 165,
Monster.
170, and then I go 275 for the rest of it. This one, I started it late. It was a smaller brisket. I cooked it at 275, and then I finished it at 310, and then I just cubed it instead of.
Damn, seems pretty hot.
Yeah, I don't like to chop up brisket like the recipe I saw you chopped it up, but I think brisket, if it's really a good brisket, it turns to mush if you chop it too fine, and you can't really shred a brisket. So I cubed it.
Nice.
And, but some of the tricks to the trade that Matt put out there, he didn't really say, like he talks about putting his brisket on the highest rack. That gets you the most smoke to it without cooking it too fast.
I realized that. I mean,
so I have one of the original Timberline Traegers, and I only have 2 racks.
is that the one that I bought?
You've never the one you bought for me? Oh, the one that fell over my truck.
Yeah, is that the one?
Yeah, close.
It's the one that you said you were going to get for us.
But yeah, if you put it on that higher rack, it's just going to get more smoke circulation around them. Because I mean, Traegers are basically a convection oven, just with smoke. And then he puts a pan to catch the grease, but I put the pan under it, and I put like 64 ounces of water in there.
Steam it up.
Keeps some more moisture in the chamber. Myron Mixon, who's like a 10-time world champion, he does that. He actually has custom smokers that have water pans in them.
Oh, cool.
And sometimes I throw some Crown Royal in mine, usually some maple. But I do a brown
Which
sugar.
They don't make anymore.
I know, and I have like some of the last bottles in the world in my house.
Wait, they don't make what anymore?
Crown Royal maple.
Are you
You
sure?
used to have all those little shooters that we found.
Well, some. And I have like 2 or 3 full bottles of maple still. It's limited edition. If anyone wants to buy it, I'll sell it to you for $700 if you're listening.
Yeah.
You got a new job. Can I have one, Matt?
I don't have any.
He gave them all to me.
Yeah. Like
He made me a fucking Christmas tree of Crown Royal maple bottles.
So check this out. So we knew that.
awesome.
So he was like, it was early on in like your barbecue growth, and like, but you found this recipe that used Crown Royal maple, and it was fucking great. It was super
made it
fucking
up.
good.
Were you injecting it? Is that how you're doing it?
I did try an
Into
injection
his
one
tummy.
time. Yeah. I tried an
Into
injection one
his
time.
tummy.
And I think it actually dried the meat out a little bit, but I was also still pretty
Okay.
new at it.
Yeah.
But I just do it in the water pan, so it kind of infuses the brisket in the air.
Yeah.
So you can add flavor
Yeah.
through the water pan. You'll see people do stuff with like pork butts and stuff like that. They'll put like fucking lemons and shit in there to
Dude,
infuse
on
it.
pork butts, I do a lot of honey and bourbon, and I just kind of feed it that way.
That stuff will infuse
You
into
were
it.
the meat.
Both. I've never cooked without drink. I've never been awake without drinking.
That's probably also true based on your lifting.
I've never lifted sober.
But if you can master a brisket, you can smoke anything.
Right. But to that point, like I don't think it's hard to make an okay or even like a good brisket.
No,
Depends on the toughness.
It's hard to make a great brisket or one that's like really fucking good, and it's hard to make a bad brisket.
well, I was really, really nervous when I got a smoker. I don't know, how long ago was that, you think?
That one you got from me?
Yeah.
That was probably 3-4 years ago. You were still at your old house.
I was.
Because I
Probably
came over and you were wearing silkies mowing your yard, and I thought you were dating men.
per the usual. That's you'll see me May 3rd and beyond, summertime, pool open, Silkies at the Muscle Mansion. So
The muscle mansion.
Fuck out of here.
So no, I was really nervous about smoking a brisket, like spending the money on the meat.
And it's
And then the
brisket's
time.
stressful because it's like 8 or 10
I
hours,
was
and you
stressed
don't know if it's going to be shitty.
because I'm like, the family is relying on me to finish this
Yeah.
on time to eat, all that shit. And I was so nervous, but it wasn't my best brisket. It definitely isn't one of, but it wasn't one of that's comparable to your guys's, but it was very edible and it was still delicious. And I couldn't fuck it up. And I could hardly put butter on toast. And here I am making a brisket.
Well, that's why I got into smoking. I bought my first Traeger because I was a terrible griller.
Yeah.
I was just everything on high. Let's fucking cook
so that's
this
what I
shit.
was gonna say.
Right?
Is the reason why I bought it is because we were getting ready to buy a new grill.
And I talked you into it because you
Yeah.
can't fuck it up.
Yeah,
But you know what's funny is when I had a Traeger for a while, Amber's uncle assigned me to cook a bunch of chicken for him one day when he wasn't there for the family.
he fell in love with it.
Well, no. So he had a grill, and I was like, well, I'm taking my Insta-Read. If you don't have an Insta-Read, you can't barbecue or cook anything. Get yourself a thermopen.
That's true.
Those
I went
things
for
are-
a long time being like, I put the chicken on
It's
there long
the
enough
best thing you'll ever have.
that you
Cooking with a
shit your
probe.
pants after eating bad chicken.
Cooking with
nail it.
a probe was the
Yeah.
best thing ever. But I was at his house, and half the fucking chicken he had was frozen, and half it wasn't. So I was like moving this shit all over the grill, and it actually made me more patient of a griller.
But you got so sweaty.
No, it's kind of cold outside.
Okay, that'd be
Yeah.
nice.
Well,
Yeah.
cold to some people.
Well, you can still,
Perfect temperature to me.
So,
like
that's on a
54?
grill or a smoker you're talking about?
That was a grill, so it actually kind of developed
Okay.
the patience of it. Because
Yeah.
before I would like, let's make a steak, fucking put it on high, let's cook the
I'm
shit
gonna
out
sear
of this
this
thing.
bitch.
Yeah, and so
Yeah,
having a smoker really like taught me to be patient with what's going on because there ain't nothing fast happening on a smoker.
So I put a one of the first times I made a decent size like pork butt. It was on a Sunday. We go to mass, and I'm coming back home, and my mom's there like hanging out, and she's like, "Hey, your grill is on fire," and I'm like, "No, it just does that." Like I was thinking,
Is that the original one I sold you?
yeah.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, it's just." I was like, "Oh, it just does that." Like thinking she's just seen the smoke, and I poked my head out the corner and the window, and I'm like, "Dude, that's fucking thing's on fire." So I open the thing and extinguish it, and then I start it back up, and the pork butt is like black, and it's only been going for like 2 hours, and it's like black, and I'm thinking I just fucked this thing up, but I'm like, you know what? I don't know. I hear that there's a bunch of fat on these things that kind of protects the meat, and I'm just gonna finish it. I'm gonna see it through. I'm gonna cook the rest of it, and I did, and I had our neighbors over. And they were like, "This is the best pulled pork I've ever had," and I was like, "Oh, word!" I lit that motherfucker on fire, and then I just cooled it down and finished the cooking. Right? I mean, they are bulletproof though.
Yeah, a pork butt is pretty. I mean, if you get really into
That
it,
specifically,
like,
yeah.
But I think with brisket is 100% the selection of meat. The higher quality, the better.
The
It's gonna
higher
turn out.
quality, you have more room for error.
What do you think right now? I mean, prices are changed and inflation, all that stuff. Like, what do you think right now is a reasonable price for a brisket? And you tell me the size to cook.
I think Costco probably has the best selection.
Because theirs are all prime, right?
They do it. No, they have choice. I
do it.
think they do have choice. They
wouldn't
might.
get
I
choice.
always get prime. Yeah, don't get choice. If you're gonna spend like 8 to 12 hours smoking something, fucking make it worth
I
your
don't know what
time.
the difference
I mean,
is,
the price wise.
But like the last brisket I got was
But I think the one I got, it's like $6 or $8 a pound, probably for choice. What'd you pay for yours, Matt?
the prime one, $5 a pound fairway for prime.
Fairway.
So before all this inflation and stuff, what was a good price?
It's probably about the
I would say-
same.
I don't think brisket's changed a ton because it's not.
It
like
hasn't. I thought it went up
brisket is
Nobody like few
Nobody
people
wants
want
brisket.
because
Here's the thing is-
brisket's a shitty meat,
brisket
It's
is
a
originally
terrible-
a shitty cut of meat, and it turned
people
which
into
is
like
amazing because it's the best
Right,
fucking
so
meat.
like-
You cook
This
it
used to be
right.
like the shit they gave like the guys that were like during the fucking depression that were working like
Which is it's
high
incredible
steel.
to me because it's my absolute most favorite.
Right. So like
is
my
brisket.
understanding is like we've started the last probably 3 or 4 years we've started buying whole cows or half cows and like
Yeah,
you-
me too.
And
Yeah.
like you get like the custom cut and you're like talking about this, that, and the other. And most of the time when I tell them that I want the brisket, they're like, You want the brisket?
You don't want a
cut?"
bunch of steaks, like a bunch of ribeyes.
Right.
and
They're like, we
strips?
could just grind it up with everything
Oh,
else.
yeah.
And I was like, No, I'll take the brisket.
Even now, they're still asking you that shit. I mean, this stuff's gotten more popular, right?
It's gotten more popular, but
But you have to remember, it's sometimes
But
when I
you're
see
also-
more popular because we're in that niche group.
right, but you're also like
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the briskets I've got off the cows that we've purchased have been 7 pounds. I think we had a big one that was almost 8 pounds.
Most of these other like these cows are raised for fucking barbecue.
Yeah, so like
love
for
it.
instance, so like the cow that we just got 6.5, a little under 6.5 pound brisket is what we got off the.
That doesn't even feed a
that.
family of Matt.
Right. Versus the brisket that I bought at the store That was 17.89 pounds.
Damn.
So I mean, you're talking like a big
So
variety.
yeah, price wise, I mean, they're all over there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in general for anybody who might listen to this outside of the Omaha area, but Costco's probably has some of your best.
Yeah.
Just I'm a
I mean,
casual
Costco's
guy.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a casual guy. If you want the best brisket you'll ever have, you go to Snake River Farms.
Right.
And you get a fucking Wagyu gold grade brisket.
Or hot
well,
dogs.
black or gold, or basically the same. There's not that much difference. Or Creekstone Farms. That's where Aaron Franklin gets a lot of his from Franklin Barbecue. I've done one of theirs.
Minimum, I pony up for the prime because it gives you.
Yeah, but what if you're new?
Still get the prime because the better the quality meat is,
More room to fuck it up.
the more room you have to
Oh,
you
okay.
get better marbling. It's a little, I don't know if it's easier or harder to trim. I can say that it's just a better cut of meat to cook with, and so you have more margin for error. But again, like if it's your first one, I would suggest doing prime. I would get at least probably
Which
like
kind
a
of seems
14-pound
like
prime.
counterintuitive. Like if it's your first time doing anything, you want the most expensive shit.
Right, but the better thing you get,
But it's not the
more,
most expensive.
Oh, it's not.
Like you get into a Wagyu brisket and you're paying.
oh, that's fair.
like
Yeah.
10, 12, $14 a pound.
Yeah, like I buy a gold grade brisket and it's like $200,
Right.
but it's
Damn.
magnificent.
Right, but,
No,
they're
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 great.
so good. Like you can, they definitely are better. But
Is it hard to fuck up? Sorry. Is it hard to fuck up a $200 brisket?
It's probably hard to throw one on for the first time.
Because you were nervous. I remember
Yeah, you had like
having
49
one.
of them in your
Yeah,
freezer.
you
You're
had
like,
them in
"I
your
don't
freezer. Like,
wanna do
I
it.
wanted to
I don't
practice for
wanna
a
do
couple
it."
years before I cooked this fucking thing.
I feel like I've turned into an okay barbecuer.
Oh, dude, yeah.
So
For sure.
it doesn't bother me at all to put a brisket on there because I feel
But
like
it
I
used
can.
to terrify you.
It did. I did a lot of other briskets. I fucked up. You listen to Aaron Franklin talk. He fucked up a lot of briskets before he got to it.
And
I've
he
been
cooks volume too. Like he could cook.
Well, he was cooking in his
fucked up
backyard first, though.
volumes of. Oh yeah, it's true.
He would start with one or two. Yeah, so I did a lot of practice, and I've always done brisket. I have never smoked a pork butt.
You still haven't?
No, because I don't find a challenge to it.
Well, there's not, but they're good.
And I'm not shitting on anybody that does.
No,
You
I
wanna
know,
smoke
yeah.
a pork butt? That's great.
It's the
And
volume.
the thing is, like I said, my wife doesn't eat pork or red meat.
Yeah.
So
You're smoking her fish and stuff though,
yeah, we make fish, we make chicken.
dude.
you want one of the
fish
best
on
chicken
the-
recipes? Fucking Malcolm spicy chicken.
Yeah,
How to
nice.
barbecue right. If you've never checked them out, check out Malcolm. He likes to eat because he's fat as shit, but he makes great stuff.
Yeah, it's true.
But so if I make a pork butt, I have to eat the whole thing, and I can't eat like 2 sandwiches without shitting halfway through the first one.
Yeah, if you don't have people like I've got a family of people eating on this stuff, so
Sure.
and with it, like you guys come over to the pool and stuff like that, like you'll eat that. If I made it, you're gonna eat it.
Yeah. So if I make a brisket, I'll just make it, and I can eat it all week for my lunch,
right.
Yeah.
and I don't get like the shits off a brisket.
I love it. I was in here this week. I was in here Wednesday, and I'm benching, and he comes over like a waitress with like a piece of brisket. He's like, "Oh, like fuck yeah, a piece of that."
And that was a prime. That was a prime from
was
Costco,
so
but I
good.
did that like a pork butt with that Mexican kind of recipe to
Oh,
it.
it's great, dude.
That you can make like tacos and shit out of.
It's the best. There's
that
no
one-
other gym, by the way. Just shout out Omaha Barbell that has like a very handsome waitress.
And maybe at some point we'll start.
Waitress that
Maybe at some point we'll start doing Friday barbecue out of here and selling barbecue.
I hope so.
I got some
You've
big-
talked about this, and I think that you should do it.
I got some dino beef ribs in my freezer. I'm gonna
so
make.
good.
I've,
So
you
good.
know, there's plenty of fat friends I'd like to train and go eat food and just be gross.
Yeah, I think brisket and ribs are probably my.
Have
two.
you ever cooked not drinking?
Yeah, I cook every weekend, not drinking.
What? Are you serious?
I usually drink on Fridays. I don't drink on Sundays.
Next question, guys.
I drink all the time.
Anybody?
Like, I try not to.
Anybody? Really? It seems so
Like,
natural.
It's so bad when we go to
It's so
the
natural.
bar in our area up in Ponca Hills, the Forgot store, which is fucking great. We'll go there and like there'll be times that we just haven't gone for, I don't know, 3 days, 4 days, and we walk in and people
Where
are
have you been?
Oh yeah, it's like Cheers. It's like fucking
like, oh
Cheers
my
up
god,
there.
we thought you guys were like out of town or something, or you died. Are you guys all right?
We thought you guys got Josh Rennard in a snowplow somewhere.
Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy,
Come on, don't throw him under
thank
the bus.
you.
Mayor of Kingstown, great show.
Throw
By the
him
way, just
under
finished
the
watching it.
snowplow.
Jordan Gretzky, same thing.
We're still there. We're still there. What's his name? Jeremy?
Jeremy Renner,
Yeah.
Hawkeye.
Jeremiah.
R.I.P.
He didn't die. Mayor of Kingstown is legit though.
It's a great show.
Yeah.
You know, the other show that was really great, and this is worth a segue of some kind to then come back to barbecue and foods and things, is
Not true.
the Stallone show.
Oh yeah.
Tulsa
King.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched Tulsa King,
What an unreal, awesome character he played. Like the best.
You would have never thought it was going to be good because it had
No,
Tulsa.
no, well, not even that because I thought it was gonna be like a cheesy like Stallone thing, but I like
And nobody likes Oklahoma. It's just on the way to Texas.
I know
100% define the success of that book.
it's just on the way
or
to
the
Texas.
success of that movie
That's so
by
true.
looking at the book The Way of Men, which is an entirely different conversation. But that's why that movie was so great.
Yeah,
Because he's a terrible human being, but he's great at being a man.
we
And
talked
you're
about
like,
that. Yeah,
Fuck yeah.
yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah. But it's on the way to Texas where some of the best barbecue is.
Yeah.
There was a place. So I don't know if you know about this place, but Rudy's in Texas.
I have not heard of Rudy's. I have not. I would like to do a Texas barbecue tour.
Okay,
good.
when we moved,
Is there something you can take that will like take the fat out of your blood cells so you can eat more fat?
no, you just get fatter.
What if we donate
I
blood?
think if you space it out.
Can we get blood transfusions?
To do is be
Like, give
less
me
fat.
some-
Why do you want to be less fat?
Because he wants to eat
I
more
wanna
barbecue.
Eat more barbecue. But I know if I go down there and I do that tour, like my blood.
No,
will just
so
turn
the
into, like,
here's the thing.
quicksand.
Here's the thing with Texas is that. So I lived there between 2008 and 2014 when I was stationed down there, and Rudy's is a gas station. And
Oklahoma
it's
Joe's used to be in a gas station in Kansas City
a
also.
similar story, right? And it's still there. The original one is in Selma, Texas, which is like right outside San Antonio. It's like a suburb of San Antonio. In a gas station, you go there, you still pump gas. It's like a country store, get toys and like clothes and shit.
Can
like
you get
whatever.
chickens?
You can order chicken there to eat.
Like can you get like a little chicken in a bin? Like
Probably.
Breakfast
It's very Texan. So yeah, I'd imagine.
And probably like a gun at the same time.
Yeah. But it's still ran out of the gas station, and there's now a couple Rudy's across Texas. But it's the place where I discovered that I know barbecue places do it, but I didn't see it until I went to Texas. Was you get there and there's like a tray and you just order food by the fucking pound, and it's like I want like half pound of brisket, fat or lean, boom 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 boom. They cut it up and they're like, what do you want for dessert? Like there's no fucking question. That's where you get fat. Is it's not the meat, because they had the best pecan pies and shit like that and cobblers and all that shit. Dude, you fucking get all of them every time, and then you're having
You know
drinks.
the lean cut of brisket's still really fat, right?
Dude, they're all good.
It
I've
just
never
doesn't have that fat seam in the middle.
yeah, yeah. It doesn't have a hat on, but
Yeah.
but Rudy's was great, and then there's a couple other places. Texas Pride is another one. If you ever remember the show Man vs. Food.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
guy, I tried
Adam-
the
Didn't
8-pound
they-
burrito in Denver.
Like they had to tell him to stop.
Oh
right?
my
'Cause
God.
Yeah, he was going to die.
Wait, I have a whole bunch of stories around this, but did you try a thing?
I tried the 8-pound burrito
Did
in
you
Denver.
do it or not?
No, I ate for like an hour and a half, and I only ate 2 pounds of it. But you know the hardest part
What
about
was
that?
it? What was in it? Was it breakfast burrito or like a lunch thing?
Sadness, disappointment.
Dude, it's like a pound of cheese, a pound of meat, a fucking like 4 tortillas. But you know the worst part of it? It didn't taste
Like ground
good.
beef?
Yeah, it didn't taste good.
Oh,
Like, who wants to eat 8 pounds of shit that doesn't taste good? But some guy, when I was there, ate it in 13 minutes.
was he fat?
No.
Probably not.
They have a picture of the burrito next to a baby.
No shit.
It's the same size. It's 8 pounds.
Wow.
And no
is
one
it
is-
one tortilla or like a couple?
No, it's
Four.
like a fucking, it's like 4 or 8 of
Probably
it.
like 4 12 inches.
So we were there.
It's not that big.
We were there. Another shout.
It's not that.
Another shout out to the handsome Drew Dober. He was there. We were out there to go watch him do a Muay Thai competition, and he was sitting with me. And he fucking reached his fork over, and the guy's like, "Don't touch that burrito until he's done." No one else could touch it because they weigh it to see how much
Do they
you
do?
ate.
Do they do like it's a free thing if you finish it?
I don't know because it was free because I didn't have to pay for it because somebody with me paid for it if I tried it. And you get a picture on the wall.
So
And-
so
Did you
I
go put on like the wall of shame then because you didn't get
No,
done?
they didn't care, and I was so sweaty.
I bet because there was duck fat on it.
No duck fat.
But
I just ate like a man, which you're new to.
you're new to being fat. Welcome to Strength Sports.
Yeah.
There's a couple things about Texas that I absolutely loved. The food, like the Tex-Mex food, right outside of barbecue. I know we'll get back to barbecue, but like, there's not a single place in Omaha that's remotely good as chain places down in Texas. 100. There's just not, and we've tried.
Well, especially if you're talking Tex-Mex. I mean, you can't get any closer to Mexico than
No, I
fucking
know.
Texas.
It's
Or-
fucking
well,
Texas
Arizona.
Roadhouse.
So, no,
Taco John says it's Tex-Mex.
that's good
They
though.
got potato lays. with
That's
nacho
good. If you want to
cheese.
get like huge traps, you eat there.
Did I tell you I got that the other day? We were talking about it.
Like the
Yeah, you
pound
told me you fucking went to get
the
it.
pound of tots.
Oh, I got a 6-pack and a pound for me, and Aaron had to stop and get more food because I ate it all on the way home.
You're gross,
It was
dude.
so good, totally worth it.
Did you train this week?
Yeah, no, I did. Yeah,
I told you dude, about the riskiest thing I've ever heard. My sister and her friends went to a concert in Des Moines. It's like an hour and a half from Omaha, and they got the fucking Taco Bell for the ride home. And I was like, "You are the riskiest person."
Shit.
Dude, I'm not eating Taco Bell unless I'm there or
I
at
have
home.
Okay, now I have a story time.
They're the kind of people that hit on 20.
So
Yeah, they play blackjack, fucking slamming 20s.
hit on 20.
Oh, fucking, dude, that's a risk. I'm
So I get.
I'm
I
shitting
am,
my pants.
I had a stomach bug for like a week, and I was just
Not
shit.
recently, obviously. You look terrible. So.
Like a
No.
cicada?
This is a couple years ago, and I was just shitting clear for like a week. I could do nothing to make a solid turd ever, right? And I get to, and I felt like shit. And I'm traveling for work, and I land in Salt Lake City, and I finally have an appetite. You know that like appetite between you can't eat for a long time, and then every time you eat, you kind of just feel sick, and
Where
then
your stomach shrinks up.
yeah, and then like finally my appetite was big again, and I'm like, Taco Bell sounds good. That's the only thing that sounds good.
Crunchwrap Supreme, what'd you get?
I got chalupas.
Oh, dude.
Do they have the nacho cheese?
So I got beef.
Baja chicken.
No, I got beef.
You
For the
probably drink
amino.
Baja Mountain Dew too, did you?
I love
Baja Blast?
Dude, Baja
No.
Blast is good.
But the Baja chicken chalupas were money.
They're good, but the beef has amino acids, and I'm a bodybuilder, so that's why I need
The
them.
beef also is the most disgusting meat that
It's
they have at Taco
edible
Bell.
for human consumption or whatever they
That's
call
what
it.
it says on the jar.
Meat product.
But so I'm talking to Courtney on the phone, right? And I'm like, hey, and she's like, how you feel? And I'm like, I'm actually pretty hungry. She's like, oh, good. We're gonna stop and eat. And I was like, well, I have to drive to Idaho, and it's like a 2.5 hour drive from Salt Lake City to Idaho Falls.
I remember this.
And I'm gonna go Taco Bell, and she's like, I wouldn't do that. And I'm like, that's the only thing that sounds good. And if it sounds good, I have to eat because I haven't eaten, and I'm like, and I want to train, and like I want to do something, and I've no food, and it seems like a bunch of calories I need to catch up on. So I'm gonna stop there. And she's like, oh, like good luck. So I stop there and I get a Baja Blast and chalupas and a couple extra soft tacos, and I am so hungry I inhale them. And this is it's dark now. It is like 10 o'clock at night, and I feel like the bubble guts are happening, but they're the hot ones that you know that if you do anything
Like if your butt's really sweaty and you fart, you don't know if you shit your pants.
So I'm like, oh man, like I feel so good from eating this food, and I have calories in me, right? And I have this caffeine in me. I'm like, I feel exponentially better, and I'm gonna keep driving. And then like I fart, and then I'm like.
Are you farting with air quotes or like an actual?
No. I fart. I
Okay,
legit fart, but it's like a hot, spicy, like
Like those
humid.
ones when your butt's sweaty, you don't know if you shit your pants.
Yeah, it's a humid fart. You know what I mean? Like the car is just
Like your tank gets hot because it's
yeah,
just so
it's like
hot coming up.
I'm like, whew, and then I'm just kind of so I start to kind of slowly press my left foot that's not driving on the gas or brake, kind of on the, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of hitting me a little bit. But, like, I got time. I'm, like, listening to music and shit like that. And I have no, like, reception. So I was going to call Courtney and be like, hey, like, I think you're right. Like, I'm going to tease myself as I'm driving, okay? And I'm getting ready to fart again, and I just stop. I'm like, that's a shit. and I'm fucking
just like a
and there's
finger poking
nobody
out, just,
around
like,
me. So
tickling
the
around.
the first thing I think about is there's nobody around me. And if I had to pull over and shit, and there's not a gas station for another 50 miles, like I could just do that in the middle of the mountains.
What are you gonna wipe with? That's always my concern.
Okay,
With people.
I thought about it. I was like, I've got napkins in the bag, and I have got the
Not
brown.
enough, dude.
No. But I got the brown
You gotta
bag.
use the paper bag to like get the first.
So
like,
no.
rough
That's the
scrape.
thing. It's like I have a bag. I have a brown bag full of napkins. I could stop
And you're
anywhere.
wearing socks.
Yeah, underwear.
I've
right?
heard people use socks. I've
Okay.
heard the stories.
Done
So
that.
so this is the story. I end up having to fucking stop, and I have to shit, and I get out of the car, and I like spread ass cheeks and like try
Shit
to
on your shoes.
just yeah, and I try to just like use the
some
velocity
spray.
to get it away from me, and I just shit down my jeans. Like I just completely straight down my jeans, and then I'm like, dude, fuck this. Like this is fucking gross. And then I see a semi truck driving by, like, oh fuck, people are actually out here, And it's dark, and he's probably like getting blown by like a meth head. Like who knows? He's just driving by. So he just drives by, right? And I'm like, all right, well that's disgusting. Maybe my jeans aren't fucked up, but my underwear's fucked up. So then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna
How
take
did
off.
you shit
No,
in
listen.
your pants? Were you standing up? Like you just pulled
Yeah,
your pants
I
and then
stood up and kind of like leaned over to think I could like launch it backwards. and it just kind of went
know.
down.
Now, with all the weird stuff you do with other guys, you have no kind
I
of
wasn't
thrust like
sure
that.
what was gonna. I didn't know.
Like I would have back against the car a little bit, like legs out.
Oh, that's so.
Just get shit on the side of your car.
Oh my god, that's so much
Side of your
smarter.
car or in your
Oh
pants.
my god, that's brilliant. So next
I'm a
time,
mathematician.
no, so I go straight down in the draws, right, and I'm like, the damage
It's
on
done.
on the jeans is not bad.
Unless it's all liquid.
They're salvageable, but I'm in the dark, right? So I'm like, they're salvageable, but my draws are fucking gone. My shoes are gone. My socks,
Hold on, how are the jeans savable but your pants?
because
and
I
your
had
shoes
like
are
the
gone?
run kind of went down, and it like filled my socks a bit, and then like the shoes are a little fucked
I'm
up.
so.
Now
like,
let me finish, right?
I need a
So I'm
diagram.
like, so I like take all my shit off. So I'm like Winnie the Poohing it on the side of the street. I got a fucking t-shirt on, my dick's
And
hanging
you got to
out.
pull your shirt up so you don't get poop residue.
Oh
on
yeah,
it.
I'm like this, right? Like 100%. So I'm like, the brown bag with the napkins
you didn't take with you.
are on the passenger seat. So I'm gonna reach in there. I reach in there. That fucking asshole
fucking
at Taco
fall.
Bell didn't put any napkins in my bag.
Because you got the paper bag though. That's fine.
So I do that.
And your socks already fucked.
And my socks are fucked. So my socks are like some elk is eating that shit, right? I'd left them, and then the bag I start using. I'm like, that's sharp. I can't do that shit.
Yeah, that's rough.
So I take the draws and I just like clean my shit up, right? And I throw them out there.
Wipe your hand and
But I'm still like tacky, like poop tacky on me,
and you have no baby wipes.
and I've got nothing on me.
So you have to touch the steering
I just
wheel.
pull up. This was like a day trip, and I just pull up my jeans and fucking button them and sit a disgusting
Go to the
ass
nearest
in the
Mugs and
driver's
buy
seat of the
some
car,
trucker
and then I
jeans.
drive
A rental.
You know what's really bullshit is about 30 seconds later, there's an exit for a goddamn gas station right there.
You wouldn't have made it.
I don't think I was. That's why I was so adamant about
Dude,
stopping.
I've had
So
those
so I
times.
go in there and I just sprint back in there and I go there like kind of clean up or whatever, and I do have shit on my jeans, like
Like on the inside or the outside?
inside.
That's fine.
And I thought that, right? But I have a pair of jeans and I have a meeting at like 7 a.m.
Well, you're at a truck stop. They have everything
Yeah.
there, and you can buy
So
a
I
sword.
I go into Walmart though, and I like buy jeans, and then so
You leave
anyway,
your old ones there.
I know that's a long story, and long story even longer. Into the meeting the next day, and I have like this little sketch pad. You know those sketch pads that you have like a
Etch a sketch?
like, like you're a police detective.
you can like draw on and push a button and it like resets. It's like kids use them.
iPad.
Kind of. It's like an LCD screen. You can like doodle on and you push a button. It's like a magnet.
I don't have
Blackberry.
kids because they cost money.
You do. So anyway, I'm giving these things. They're like branded from my company to customers, and I have one, and I'm drawing a picture of what happened to me last night to the guy I work with, and he gets it. And he just fucking he just fucking stands up and leaves the room, and I see him bent over fucking laughing out the window, and he comes back inside, and they're like, "Hey, are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, no, I'm good. I just had a tickle in my throat." And they're like, "Dude, you were laughing so hard. Like, what happened?" He was like, no, it's fine. And then I was just like, just don't say anything about this story because I'm going to have to explain this whole shit story to these customers in front of me right now.
Legitimate shit story. I see what you did there.
So it was I don't know why I went there, but like the danger,
Taco Bell, have you didn't? Because I told you my family got it to drive an hour and a half. And that's
which is not good. So yeah.
well after they'd been drinking at a concert.
Oh, I don't know if that's worse than me or not. I was sick,
That's risky, dude.
but it's the only thing that sounds.
I shit my pants here with a client.
You know what I'm talking about, though. Like when you're sick for so long, and like all I want to eat is this because that's the only thing that sounds good.
Yeah, no, I get it, but yeah.
Am I alone here with that?
But I don't go places
Not-
and eat strange food
No.
without
Taco
a
Bell
bathroom.
is an American establishment. It's not strange.
Yeah, but no, I know what it does. If I get Taco Bell,
I
I
know.
go directly home. Or the Taco Bell is only like a half a mile from my house.
I don't have anything that.
I mean, it's so
can eat
bad.
Taco Bell and be fine. Like I don't feel.
Oh,
Oh,
The
it's not every time. You know I got that weird stomach. I could eat the same thing
Yeah.
10 times, and the 11th time I have to shit like 4 times in a row.
So I had a thing when I was in
The knife thing.
in
Yeah, the old dagger
going to
shits.
college. I had some like it's not like a celiac, but it was like some kind of like gluten something. Like if I ate a lot of bread, but like I was going to college and I was fucking poor, so I was like I'm just eating a bunch of fucking sandwiches.
Like
Like
I'll
turkey
switch. I'll switch to ramen.
Yeah. So, but I do that, but it was like it would fuck with my guts, and so at the time going to UNO, you had to park down at the Westroads Mall in that parking
Crossroads.
the Crossroads, yeah. Park at Crossroads in that parking garage, and there was a shuttle that would take you from there to back to the school. So I get in there and I'm pulling in, and I feel like I got the shits, and it's like at the time when I was figuring this life out, it would be like I would get maybe a 3-minute and 42-second head start before like I had to shit and stuff. And so like I'm pulling into the parking lot and I was like, oh no, I've got to shit. And I was like, if I can catch this shuttle, I'm good. Go, pull in there, get out, walk over to the ledge, look down, watch the shuttle pull out, and I was like, there's no fucking way I'm gonna make it. And it's 7:30, 8 a.m. Mall's not open yet, so I'm like, fuck. So I drive my car all the way to the very top of the parking garage, and fucking face my car, hold onto the old shit handle from the inside, and just like point my butthole back with my shins against the truck, and I just fucking shit this giant pudding pile on the ground. But I didn't think ahead of time, like, oh, I should probably find something to wipe with. So I'm sitting here,
what's
like,
the sitch?
just fucking a shitty butthole, a shitty pile sitting on the ground, and I'm like, I gotta clean this thing up. So then I stay in the hunched over position as best I can with my elegant mobility.
Are you behind your car at this point, or is someone next can see you?
They can probably see me. Like I'm in the middle.
I hope there's security cameras and someone has this.
Someone has it. So I'm in the top, whatever the highest level parking I can be.
What time
Not
of
on the
day
roof.
was it again?
It's like 7, 8 a.m.
Oh, so sun's out.
So just the
yeah.
just the nerds are there.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so I am facing the driver's seat with the driver door open of my 1977 Buick Regal, candy apple red.
At
with
least the
white
doors
vinyl
were
top.
big.
They were huge.
Yeah. You were small too.
But I'm in a pickle here, right? Because I've got the car in front of me,
I'm shaking my head.
and
'cause
I've
you're
got
probably
this
still fat.
giant pile of shit pudding behind me, and nothing to wipe with in hand.
Yeah, it happens,
And
dude.
so I'm like, all right, cool. So what I do is I bend over as much as I can to keep my butt cheeks spread.
Yep.
And I shuffle to the back of the car where I can pull a shoe off, and I take both my socks off. And the first wipe with that one was just all poop. And I'm like, all right, we're done with that. Second
Now
sock,
you're running low on supplies.
and I'm like, all right, it's you and me, lefty. And I grab that sock, and I fucking give it a wipe, completely full of shit. Fuck, throw it over there. And I'm like,
Taking my shirt off.
Oh!
So I got the undershirt off because I was cool back then. Had my Hanes undershirt.
Oh, yeah,
right?
like
Sure,
the
dude.
white
Yeah, the
beater
white
one.
under.
Yeah.
I get it.
So
You're a rapper.
So I'm
Did you
sitting
rip
here-
it?
Hold on. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, how much poop is back there? And I don't know, because I don't know if I just smeared it all. If I got
Oh, now it's like up your back.
right, is it all?
And if
over
you have
my
a camera
back?
phone, it's
Is it
super
like-
pixelated.
Is it like up both butt cheeks? No, this is my like Nokia brick phone.
Oh,
So there's no camera on that. Had Snake though.
yeah.
So, but I'm trying to figure out. I'm like, all right, cool. We'll figure this out. So I brave it and I take a finger back there.
Oh,
I'm like,
what?
okay.
That never comes off your
I
nail.
didn't touch my butthole, but I went to like a butt cheek and I was, I don't know, I imagine a couple inches away from my butthole. I'm like, poop. Like there's a bunch of poop back there. So I wipe it off on the shirt and then I tear my sleeves off the shirt and I do some
What are
wipe-
you talking about?
Because you've got to wipe, like I have to maximize
You wearing
the
a
amount of-
t-shirt when you just ripped the sleeve? Like,
I
did you
ripped the
cut?
sleeves off the like the undershirt I had.
This guy's got a survival kit for shitting.
Yeah. So I wipe. So that way I use the one sleeve to wipe like the inside of the right butt cheek. Use the other sleeve to get the inside of the left
That
butt
is
cheek.
pretty brilliant.
Right, and then I tear the rest of the shirt in half because I'm like, all right, this is all I have. I literally have nothing else except my.
So you're
fucking
not wearing a
cheek.
shirt at all now, right?
No, he's
I
got his
have-
overshirt.
I have my
Oh, so
I
this
have my
is-
probably
okay.
like I would imagine it was an Izod striped polo.
Oh, I bet.
Ooh, maybe
Right.
Abercrombie.
No, Abercrombie doesn't
You
make
wouldn't
plus
fit you.
size stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, I wore a 3X and it was like a fucking large.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gross.
So I took that shirt, anyways, managed to wipe the rest of whatever might have been back there, and then so as I'm driving off, I'm like, cool, I have no socks, I have no undershirt, and I look back behind me, and there was just a pile of pudding shit with 2 socks on it, and then a pile of shredded t-shirt just covered in shit in the middle of the parking lot garage, and I'm like, I'm sorry.
Dude, somebody had to clean that up too.
Somebody did. If I find that guy, I am sorry, man. I did what I could to make it to a bathroom.
Come out there with a snow
Did you go
shovel.
to class or did you go home?
No, I went to class. Yeah, I was totally in class. I
That's why he's a
drove down-
mathematician.
Down parked, went in there, went to class, and was just like,
Did you
all-
tell anybody this story
Did you
while you
feel
were in
like
class?
did you tell me you washed your hands when you got there?
oh yeah.
And
After
you,
I-
did you
you
feel like you
thought
smelled
about
like
it.
poop the whole day? Like you got home and showered right away.
like I didn't touch anything with this hand that came close to my face. Like I ate with my left hand that day, so I knew that there was poop on there somehow.
Dude, it
Who's
gets
the
in your
first person you
it
told
gets in
this
your
story to?
cuticles.
Who would that have been?
I mean, was it that day? Like, dude, this is what happened that day.
I don't know who would have been the first person. That would have been.
Or is this it?
That would have been the early 2000s. Is
Like Eminem. You would have
Yeah.
told Eminem first, probably. Okay.
probably.
I remember when I shit my pants at work.
Yeah.
And I
This
told,
work here?
Yeah, I shit my pants talking to a client. Like I was trying to get him out the door because I had a shit like super bad. Like my face had to be super red. And I was like, all right, cool. See you later, man. He keeps
Like an
talking.
actual poop or like a diarrhea poop?
It didn't go through my underwear.
Okay.
I'm like talking to him like, oh yeah, no, yeah, cool, good, yeah, cool. Have a good weekend. See you later. And he like keeps talking. I was like, all right, well, cool. See you later. Fucking still talking. I was
Time
like,
to go.
well, just keep talking because it's fucking over with now.
Did he hear it?
No. I shit my pants. So I was like, fuck, dude. I just like clean them out. You know.
Did you
whatever.
finish the conversation and then walk away?
Oh sure, of course he's done like right after I shit my pants. So I clean them out and I was
so
like,
fucking
Fault, too.
dying,
We were talking
dude.
about brisket, and all of a sudden we're talking
Yeah.
about shitting ourselves.
I don't know
I clean it
why.
out. I spray it with some fucking Febreze, and I'm telling fucking one of the old fucking timer powerlifters in there, and he's like, "Dude, you don't keep like extra fucking underwear in a baggie in your drawer?" And I
That
was
would
like,
be so
"No,
smart."
what the fuck?" And he's like, "Well, now you fucking should."
Do you now?
Nah, I'm a risk taker, dude.
Dude, I love it.
I put on some underwear the other day and had a fucking hole, and Amber's like, "Dude, your balls are gonna fall out of those underwear.
Yeah.
If you shit your pants, it's going right through."
Yep.
Yeah. You ever just take those underwear with the holes in it and just like rip them apart and feel like a man?
No,
I do that all the time.
No,
In
I
front of
just-
my wife, I'm like, hey, I got a hole right here. Like, bah! And like open it up and like, nah, I guess.
and your dick still didn't fall out.
No, I know, yeah. She's like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I don't know. I got on shit so much, but everybody shit their pants, and if anybody tells you they haven't, they're fucking lying. If you
Well, I think
if
that
you're an
puts
adult
in
and
the
haven't
shower.
shit your, here's my thing. If you're an adult and haven't shit your pants, you don't know your limits.
Well, I think that the food, like the context of all this is, strength and food and eating and all that stuff. I mean, shit does happen.
Yeah,
I
you're gonna
mean,
have accidents, and I mean, but yeah, if you haven't shit your pants,
Someone's gonna be like, I want to do Matt's recipe, and they're like, you know what? I'm good now. After the end of their episode,
I will say, I'm pretty sure no one shit their pants because of that.
yeah, I've never
no,
had
it's
somebody
been
shit their pants off
shitty
my
food.
brisket.
It's been shitty food. That's made
I
me
don't
shit
even
my
know. I
pants.
told you I got some weird thing. I can eat the same thing 10 times. The 11th time, I'm gonna shit myself.
It's because I drink a lot. That's why I shit
I
myself.
really like to. I can't believe you guys are always. Well, you're not.
I'm not always. I'm like always not drinking, but like
I mean, like, when
me and
you're
Amber were talking about the
cooking-
other day. We probably drink more in the spring and summer than we do in the fall and
I
winter.
think that's a lot of people outside.
I
doing
drink more
shit.
when I'm awake.
okay.
I was like, I do too.
I bet
I was
if
going to
you-
agree with
I
you for a
bet-
second, but like, duh.
I bet the winter time, besides like, like people have seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah.
I bet beer sales and shit are down tremendously in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Probably.
Even though you're stuck even though
probably.
you're stuck in your house, but I definitely probably consume more drinks, because of health.
Yeah. You want to make sure you have a balance. Like if your protein's trying to get to your muscles, you want to make sure that they can combat.
Yeah, I mean, I drink
some
Budweiser. I mean, the
bourbons and
barley and
things.
the hops in there. I mean, it's great.
Yeah. There's like something about dextrose and like velocity to your muscles and protein.
I mean, a Budweiser's like a pork chop in a can. It's like an extra meal.
It's like 160 calories a
But
can.
yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, I know we're just kind of laughing and whatever about it, but I do think that the like cooking in bulk for the week for people that do train.
oh, dude, a brisket is like
so important.
especially a brisket. Dude, that's
Yeah.
like your meal prep for the week.
But you can do the good thing is so I do a brisket. I like cooking. Being part of the fire department helps me cook because if I'm gonna fire up the smoker, I'm not gonna fire it up for like a steak.
That's why I bought that little guy.
Right, I'm gonna do multiple things. But with the fire station,
The one that I bought.
I'll do a
You
whole
picked up
brisket,
for me.
and I'll do like a whole brisket, and I'll have leftovers. But I can make a shit ton of stuff. Take it down there. I get to experiment different flavors with them. They
See,
eat,
that's
and then
just
I,
it,
I
too,
get
is
to take some. I have a bunch left home. So,
Having other people eat it is, I think, very
right,
important.
and they're fucking ruthless.
Yeah, getting a real audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a huge difference, which is probably another 95-hour conversation about competition cooking versus backyard cooking,
like survival.
Right. Well,
I'm gonna venture say competition cooking is probably nowhere near as good.
if most people ate competition barbecue,
You
you'd be like,
think
eh.
so? Really?
It's
Yeah, 'cause
good.
there's a lot of injections.
It's going to be good, but like Pittman always talks about, you eat with your eyes first, right? So much of it is, what does that piece of meat look like? Does it look like
Man,
the
that's
fucking
true, yeah.
advertisement, or does the brisket last night? Like I was cutting it, I was kind of like, oh, it looks a little sloppy. Like it was a lot more kind of the point where you have that fat cap down the middle. There was a shit ton of fat. I probably should have cut and separated them, cut that fat out, and then put them back together because there was so much in there. So it looked kind of gross, but the meat on either side of it was fucking great, right? So There's that piece to it. But if you do a brisket, like say you do a rack of ribs, right? You don't have to eat, like your protein source for that meal doesn't have to be ribs. You could have a chicken breast
Oh yeah,
and a rib.
for
right?
sure. Yeah.
So you can still smoke food and have, because most of the food that you're going to smoke that's going to be like the good shit is fatty, right? That's what makes it
Well,
so
you know,
good.
when you guys came over last year and you brought the stuff that you made on the smoker when we had the 4th of July party, like I could literally eat that as a meal any day of the
Oh,
week.
those pig shots.
Obviously,
Right.
like, but that's a
But fat
thing.
is, fat is flavor, and that's why
in moderation.
in moderation. And that's the other old tip: don't trim all the fat off your brisket because that's all your flavor.
Don't
Yeah.
take.
And that's what
all-
makes Wagyu
yeah,
so
Oh,
good
so
is
good.
because of the intermuscular fat. When you look for a prime brisket,
Yeah.
look for a lot of intermuscular fat, like the white lines going
Right.
through it. Not a big thick
That's-
fat cap,
right.
thick fat cap on the side.
Yeah.
Look for the intermuscular
Right.
fat. That's where all your flavors.
Yeah, that's a great loop back around. Like, so if you're picking your brisket, like you haven't done a brisket before, you're gonna do your first one, right? Go for prime because it's a better cut of meat. It'll give you more leeway in what you're gonna do. When you're looking for that, don't be afraid of fat. Like, don't try to find a lean one that doesn't have a big fat cap because you can use that, right? You can do stuff with it, but look at the sides, like Brett said, and look for marbling in the cap and in the point, right? The point's not
Let
gonna
me
have
let me ask
too
you
much.
this though: like when you're making it, whether you're new to it or not, when you're trying to decide how much fat you're trimming off this thing, leaving more is probably better on the safe side, right? Or no?
It depends. It'll change. And some of that fat on the fat side of a brisket is really hard fat.
Right. So like
Oh.
so you get
Yeah, I
say
know
you
what you're
get your
talking
brisket,
about.
like
Yeah.
you get your good shit,
You're
you find your
feeling it
prime,
out.
you get that stuff. So as I'm trimming a brisket and I'm cutting off the fat, like if anything I touch and it just feels like a fat chick's titty, like I'll leave that because that's just going to render down. Right? You could
But
you
it
could
feels
take
like
some of it
a
off.
hard
Right.
yeah.
when it-
Implant?
when it feels
Yeah,
like a bad
nice.
implant, right?
Good.
You can touch that and it's hard. So you cut that down, and you'll get to a point where like you can push and it'll flex into the meat underneath. You're probably good there. You could probably go to cut it a little more, but I would say at that point when you can like push on the hard fat and it flexes a little bit, you probably are around that like 3/8 to 1/4 inch.
You want
layer
about a 1/4 inch on there.
of that hard fat because the hard fat will render. It just won't render as well.
And you want
So,
a
like,
sharp knife, and you want your brisket to be
brisket
pretty
yeah.
cold when you're trimming
Have
it.
the brisket cold. So like leave the brisket in the fridge, like for a couple hours. You take it out so that the brisket is still like pretty firm. Cut it, and when you go to start your trimming, start on the fat side first, because the fat will be more rigid. It'll be easier to trim. Cut that stuff again. Don't be afraid to cut that off. If it's questionable, like you can cut it off. There's a lot of shit you can.
There's
do.
like a little flapper on there, something sticks up weird.
Cut
Cut it
all
off.
the-
Make your brisket as most aerodynamic as you
Cut
can,
all
because
cut all
that'll help the
weird
smoke
shit
come
off,
across
right?
it.
Cut it uniformly.
really?
And again, if you have a meat grinder or if you're okay to do some other stuff, like get fucking aggressive with it. Like if you're gonna, like I said,
If you're gonna use the whole
But
thing,
if you're
I-
trimming this up, like you said earlier, you're trimming it up but saving what you trim
yeah,
to put into other
there's
meats.
no
that.
waste, so that's why he can get aggressive. He's
Right,
not wasting.
so,
it.
yeah,
Okay,
I'm
so
not wasting any of it.
that's huge to remember, honestly, because there's
Yeah.
plenty of times when I first like started trying to figure them out, I would just trim it and just like throw it away.
right.
I didn't know.
The other part is like, don't be afraid to like toss it. Right. So you take your first brisket. You want the brisket to be good. You're not quite sure what you're gonna do with the other stuff. Maybe you don't have a grinder. Maybe you're not quite sure. You don't want to render. Like rendering it's super easy. Go get a fucking 4-pack of these half steam pans, and you can render your fat. No
Mm-hmm.
problem. The other stuff like cook it up, give it to the dogs. Like just do
I mean,
whatever.
you're
Like,
probably
have
gonna
some
fuck
waste.
your first one up.
Right. It's gonna have
Yeah.
some stuff, but like set yourself up, cut it to like a good shape, and then when you go to smoke again, as Brett had said, once you get it seasoned, also like don't be afraid to fucking slather that bitch in seasoning.
It's a huge piece of meat. It can take a lot of
It's
seasoning.
really fucking hard to over season. You can definitely over pepper, I think, because you'll talk. A lot of people talk about putting that they call it 16 mesh. I just use what's called coarse ground because it seems to be good enough. The pepper on there will turn into that black bark color that you want.
And the theory is the chunky pepper will catch the smoke as like
Yep.
a smoke wind dam
Yeah.
and put more smoke into the meat.
So
Weird.
pepper first, and then your seasoning.
It's science.
Brett's a huge fan of the SPG, right? Salt, pepper, garlic kind of stuff.
Cosmo.
I really like the Holy Cow. This last one I did was the Meat Church Holy Cow, which has a little bit more to it, has a little sugar to it, some stuff. But you know, go get a package seasoning. Don't try to
You know,
do
for
like,
about a year now, I've probably put honey hog on everything I've eaten.
Honey
Honey
Hog's
Hog
the
is
best
awesome.
seasoning ever.
If anybody listening has never looked at Meat Church,
Yeah.
their seasonings, and Matt Pittman does a great job with videos. He's a Traeger guy.
I mean, everything.
yeah,
yeah.
he does everything.
It's fucking
His
great.
time and temps might be a little bit different sometimes. We haven't quite figured that out. I think
Yeah.
we're gonna try and ask him sometime
That'd be great.
because I've done some of his recipes and I'm
Yeah.
like, that is not the fucking
I mean,
temp at all.
I mean everything, vegetables, hot dogs.
Dude, honey hog is delicious. Honey hot hog is
everything.
delicious.
Yeah.
Right. Like we could do a whole other episode on like seasonings and what they're.
That would be good because
We might do that.
Yeah.
So take your brisket, right? I personally do not a healthy layer, but like a good amount of pepper on there because I don't like spicy, but I like pepper. Like black pepper is fine for me. Like that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So put that down. Get your edges. I know that everyone will emphasize like, oh, don't forget the edges. Sure, do the edges, but it's not like make or break if you don't get the edges covered. Do that. Put the chunky stuff down first so it adheres to the actual meat. You can use a minder. I don't know if I've ever used a minder on brisket.
So
Mustard.
one of
Hot
the
sauce or
things though is
mustard.
like I don't know how big those little those seasoning jars are, ounces.
You should use a half a jar of seasoning. To
That's what I was
season
gonna
a
say.
brisket.
Roughly,
It's like as
yeah.
I'm looking at the jar, it should disappear.
Like,
Yeah, you'll use a shit ton and you'll waste a lot. That was the other thing that really got me. Like as I'm shaking that stuff out on there, I'm like, oh man, like I've got all this seasoning on
Outside
table.
of the meat,
Like
yeah.
fuck it happens, right?
But then you can wrap it if you I season everything like on saran wrap and then wrap it into the meat.
You
that
can
I'm
do
making.
that. Like
Yeah.
I'll take it on the block and just scrape it off into my hand and like sprinkle
Yeah.
it back on.
That
Whatever.
or you can do your edges. You can pick it up and do your edges
Yeah,
if
you
you
can
want
pick
to.
it up, do that on
Yeah.
the edges. But like, so if you specific to brisket, I like to put down pepper first.
Put down the most chunky thing first.
Right. Go from chunky to the thinnest. Pepper first, and then I use Holy Cow, SPG. You could do just pepper and like Lawry's or pepper and salt. I would stay away from trying to get like your sea salt and your pepper and like trying to make your own shit. Like you're not smart enough for that yet.
No, for sure.
Get one of those prepackaged seasoning. Like SPG is super safe. If you want to taste the meat, you want to taste the smoke. SPG is the way to go, right? Because it's
Who
gonna
makes
let
that
so
one?
much-
Cosmo.
Okay.
Cosmo with a K.
Yeah,
He's got a YouTube page. He makes a bunch of good
Dude,
stuff.
if you
Yeah.
watch their social media at all, dude, I just fucking.
But his
starving.
SPG, I also like Malcolm makes his AP, which is his all-purpose salt, pepper, garlic, but it's a lot finer cut.
Yeah.
And the SPG is kind of chunkier.
Yep.
What would you prefer for what meat?
I do salt, pepper, garlic for everything now.
I mean,
for
the
most part.
chunky,
SPG is really
the
good.
chunkier one.
Okay.
Like I've started doing, like I had a roast. I had a sirloin roast that I actually ended up like searing and then smoking that I did with SPG on top of it first and stuff. But so find a seasoning, like go with one of the usuals. SPG is fucking really, really, really hard to fuck up.
You could do
Same-
just straight SPG and be fine.
Right, and like same thing with the Holy Cow, but like you can go to Ace Hardware, Shields, one of these stores, and like things will say like brisket rub, beef rub,
Yeah.
like grab one of those
Yeah, start with that. And
and just fucking get after it.
what I do is I'll season mine, then I'll go start my smoker.
Yes,
So while the smoker's warming up, that meat is absorbing that. There's different
I'll do it the
different
night
theories out
before.
there. Different theories. I don't do the night before with brisket because they say it'll pull a lot of the moisture out of the meat.
Oh no shit.
I don't know how
Okay.
true or not that is. Some people will put their brisket on as cold as possible because it has more time to take smoke. But when you put a cold piece of meat in a hot smoker, it will cool your smoker down because there's so much
yeah.
surface area
yeah,
of cold. Even when I put water in my water pan, I put hot water in my water
Yeah.
pan. But season up, let it adhere. Like I said, I use a binder. I've started using hot sauce as a binder. I use like a Traeger hot sauce. You can use mustard on ribs as well because we won't taste it.
yeah.
you don't taste
get
the
any of
mustard,
flavor from mustard,
but it will help the seasoning stick to it. I'm a fat side up guy on brisket.
yep,
In my head, I think that the fat cap on the brisket is also connected to all the intermuscular fat. So as that starts to melt and break down,
Yep.
it's going to seep into the meat. Some people think that that's just like a fucking pipe dream. I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah, it's
That's what I do.
good bet.
And don't let anybody tell you if your brisket doesn't have a smoke ring, it's not any good because they're fucking lying. Because a smoke ring, to me, is a chemical reaction that
That's-
happens more in an offset smoker with real wood, and that's where you get a real dark, thick,
and that's
crust
where
on
we
it.
talk about like that competition thing. Like the competition, you want that smoke ring.
If you're doing competition, you're doing fat side down.
Right, you do fat
Oh,
side
really?
down.
Yeah,
But
so you
you, I
want the
think you
smoke
also
ring.
can do fat side down. Yeah, because you get like all that meat from that flat is on top. It's exposed.
Their idea is the meat is being protected by the fat.
Right. So either way, like I've always done fat side up.
That's what
It
most
was
Texas
just-
people do
yeah.
too.
But I also do that but I'm on an elevated level, right? So if I put it on the top level of my smoker, the meat itself is probably 8 inches, 9 inches away from the diffuser plate on the bottom where all the heat is. So it's not getting a shit ton of indirect heat from there.
And if you don't have a Traeger,
Buy
you just have a
one.
basic smoker to start with, and you only have one rack, you can still do fat side down. Fat side up. I used to do fat side up.
On the Pro 34 all the time.
You don't have to have a water pan underneath of it.
I didn't have any of that. I had the one
You
one
can-
level, no pan. Yeah.
You can do it, and you can still do a water pan. Just put it next to it. I did on the last brisket. I just put it next to it.
Yep.
And here,
That's a good idea.
here's my last trick for you for a smoker for the day. If you want to know where the hot spots are, get a fucking thing of biscuits in the can and put the biscuits all over on your grate, and it'll tell you where your hot spots are because them fuckers will burn faster than
That
the
was
other
gonna be
ones.
my next thing, right? Is like
That's
if you
a
have
great
like your
idea.
Then you know where your hot spots are. So if you're putting,
non-Gucci version.
if you're doing a bunch of chicken thighs and you're like, man, these motherfuckers are cooking way faster than the
Yeah,
other
right.
ones. Now you'll know why.
Yeah, like on the Pro 34, if I'm doing a bunch of stuff, I have to go out there and rotate stuff from one side to the other.
I do
'cause it
that
gets
on the
hot.
one that I didn't clean last summer.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
fucking filth
The,
biscuit.
for the brisket, right? So like you've got it seasoned, kind of figure that stuff out. I would do fat set up. I think it's super easy, safe. It's, whether you're on the bottom grate, you're up top. If you can get it up off the bottom, whether that's putting it on like some kind of like cookie drying sheet and a couple fucking bricks in there, something to like get it up off there. If you can elevate it, cool. If not, leave it down there. If you're on one of like the more traditional, pellet smokers, like Brett said, find your cool spot and put it away from the heat source.
The biscuits.
put
is
But
a
your-
put
good
your
idea.
point towards
Put
the
your
heat.
point the thickest part of that brisket towards the heat because
Yep.
it'll take the longest to cook.
Yep.
And if you have an offset, it doesn't matter because the heat source should be kind
It's
of
a
even. It's
li-
obviously going to be
Most of
hotter
those
towards the
have
firebox.
like a steel plate that kind of diffuses the direct heat and
Yeah.
allows to roll up and over. Plus, if you have an offset smoker, you probably don't give a shit what we have to say about pellet smokers.
Because offset is a game of babysitting.
Yeah,
But yeah, I know that we said this was going to be a barbecue episode, but it turned more about brisket because brisket is the king of barbecue.
it really is.
Brisket and poop stories.
If you're in poop stories, if you're in Omaha, Nebraska, Smoking Barrels and Will Smoke You and Porky Butts
Northwest
my-
Feed and Grain.
are my top 3 barbecue places to eat at.
Oh, to eat at.
Barbecue
Okay.
supply stores, Helping You Barbecue,
Helping you barbecue is money.
Northwest Feed and Grain. Helping You Barbecue, those guys are experienced smokers. They compete still.
Put your guy over here. At least that sells the meat.
Just Good Meats.
Yeah.
Just Good Meats is good. Cure in Fort Calhoun will
Cure.
get you some good shit.
And if
Laird
you really,
Butcher, I've gone there some lately. They're pretty good.
if you want to get into Wagyu, look at SnakeRiverFarms.com. They're out of the
River- yeah.
Snake River Valley in Idaho. That's what all competition guys use. Yeah, that's probably our biggest tips for brisket and barbecue places. You guys got anything else?
Now we'll talk about the other stuff later.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Like we always say, if you
Don't
love it,
shit
share
yourself.
it. If you don't, I don't give a shit. Share it anyway. We'll take good, bad, whatever. It doesn't matter. Until next time, and hopefully you smoke a brisket.